So welcome to 1 Million Cups. We're happy to be with you again this week. Couple of touch points real quick. Who's new? Who has not been to 1 Million Cups before? Wow, lots of new hands. That is awesome. So a quick rundown of the format that you're going to see here. 1 Million Cups is about exposing entrepreneurs to entrepreneurs and the educational community or event that we can have there. So you're going to see a 6-minute presentation from 2 entrepreneurs. Each entrepreneur gets 6 minutes to bring you up to speed on their business. And then following that 6 minutes, there's a 20-minute Q&A session. And that's really where we see the value. So don't be afraid, raise your hand. We're going to be running mics around so that you can ask your questions and engage with the entrepreneurs. There's experience that you have that I'm sure they don't have, and also vice versa, and it's that conversation that we really want to be able to facilitate here. So as we get off, we want to say thank you so much to the Kauffman Foundation for everything that they do each week to make sure that this event comes off flawlessly, or at least close to it. Yeah, a round of applause for them. Next, we would like to ask that the coffee cups that you have, or water cups, tea cups, all make it back to the trays that are in the back or in trash cans around. That helps us clean up afterwards, make sure that we can do this for weeks to come. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce Davian Ross and ShotTracker. This is a company that I'm really excited about. I loved basketball, especially through high school. I was not good enough to play high school basketball, but I think what he's working on probably would have helped me be good enough. So give him a big round of applause.
Thanks, John. Good morning, everyone. Great, everybody's live. So my name is Davian Ross, and the company ShotTracker. I'm one of the co-founders. Today, my other partner in crime, Bruce Yanni, couldn't make it today with a 100+ fever, so we hope he gets better soon. So I'll try to do the best I can to articulate what we have going on here. So ShotTracker. ShotTracker is Nike Plus or Fitbit for basketball shooting. The ShotTracker automatically captures and tracks basketball shot attempts, mades, and misses, and provides real-time feedback and statistics to the basketball shooter. So if we think about it, cyclists and runners have had this type of technology for years. Think about the Garmin Forerunner, stopwatches. They've had this stuff for years to allow them to measure their performance and their improvement. Basketball players, we've kind of been ignored, and it hurts. So we're trying to change that. We've been ignored. Again, apology to the KU fans, but this was just an awesome picture to depict how we felt. The key thing is there's a lot of basketball players. Actually, there's 10 million between the ages of 7 and 17. And when we go past 17, there's a lot more basketball players. But our initial target audience is the 7 to 17 age group. If we go to China, there's 300 million basketball players. Not quite sure if you guys know, but there's a mandate to build over 800,000 basketball courts in China by the government. So great opportunity for ShotTracker. We've got a lot of business people in the room, and everybody knows that if you want to improve in business, you have to measure. From your sales forecast, you know how you're doing month over month to be able to do better. Basketball is the same. If we cannot improve what we don't measure. So today, we're going to tell you about ShotTracker, where we can actually measure our basketball shots. Normally we do a live demo, but my partner in crime isn't here. So today I'm going to show a video of me shooting, testing out ShotTracker. Now I have to let you know, I've been out of college since 2000, so I barely got over a credit card. My jumper is not the same. But you can see here in real time, when I shoot, shot taken, shot made. Shot taken, shot made. So you can see in real time, via an iPad application, iPhone, you can get your statistical data to plot a shot chart and to look at how you're doing with your basketball shooting to improve. So ShotTracker is made up of 3 main components. We've got our wrist sensor. So this chip you see here is about 33 millimeters in diameter. It's less than 0.4 ounces. As a basketball shooter, the most important thing is to make sure when I take ShotTracker off, I can't even tell the difference. So we had to make the tech invisible to the end user, critical. It had to be unobtrusive. It couldn't be something that, like a watch, that when you're shooting, it impacts your jump shot. So what we decided to do is create this chip, give the ability to put the chip in the sleeve, and also in a wristband, just in case someone is not fond of the sleeve. It utilizes some of the newest technology, Bluetooth Low Energy. I don't know about you guys, but when I actually switched from my iPhone 4S to my 5 and I got in my car, I saw the difference of Bluetooth to Bluetooth Low Energy. Immediate connection. Now, the net sensor utilizes the same chip, but what we do is we actually deploy different firmware. So from a manufacturing perspective, it allows us to create one chip and deploy different firmware for the net sensor and the wrist sensor, because there are different algorithms that determine the shot attempt and also the shot made. Both of these devices connect to a mobile device, whether it be an iPad, Android, iOS device. And the iOS device is really the heart of the application. They both communicate back to the device. One of the exciting things that we're trying to do with this application, and we're doing, is gamification, leaderboards, challenges. Imagine the ability to play against somebody in a shooting competition who's in Brazil, who's all across the world. Think about breaking down the barriers for basketball. Now I can challenge my friends. I've got a lot of post-college basketball players who I played with who, when they saw this, immediately started talking smack and, hey, we got to get a ShotTracker group going so we can see who still got it. So a little bit about our business model. Our business model is the ShotTracker costs $99 retail, and it includes 30 days of rolling data. But we also have additional packages. So if you want specific workouts, you can get a subscription. If you want specific data storage, you can get a subscription. But please note that anyone can purchase ShotTracker and not even have to buy a subscription. ShotTracker can be used without a subscription, as if you want the added benefits, you're allowed to purchase it with the subscription. So a little bit about what we're doing now. We're actually running a crowdfunding pre-order campaign, and it's been great thus far. The things that you don't see is what's been really, at least the things that the public doesn't see, has been really exciting for us. The calls that we've been receiving. We receive calls from shooting coaches who represent NBA teams, people who run camps. So it's been overwhelming and very exciting, the calls that we've gotten once we launched ShotTracker. Some of the key objectives for us is really to help refine our market strategy, understand the audience, really get feedback. And you know, we've only probably about 7 or 8 days in, and we've been overwhelmed and excited about the feedback that we've been getting. So my partner normally does this slide, but the thought process here is that, if you can click the video, with your help, we'd love your support, and we can make ShotTracker a slam dunk. And I did slam dunk that, and I wasn't hurt in the process, but we had some problems with the video. But as I said, I barely can get up over a credit card right now. Questions? Yes, sir.
Hello. First of all, I really like the idea. I think that's great, especially for, you know, I have a little brother who goes to Rockhurst, and he's learning how to play basketball. Yep. He's also teaching his friends how to play basketball. So imagine if you could advertise this to schools, you know, Rockhurst, Barstow, all these different public schools or whatever in the area. One thing I would want to know is if you could implement the same kind of idea to other sports, say soccer or hockey or whatever.
So we get that question a lot. I think that for us, you know, we're trying to preach focus, 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 right, in the short term. And the exciting thing about this is that once we actually solve and we continue to add more algorithms, then it's going to get really exciting for us to go horizontal, meaning get out of the domain of basketball to go to other domains. But right now, we're going to focus on basketball and going really deep, because there's a lot of exciting things that we want to do with basketball. For instance, think about right now when we architected our infrastructure, we can actually have 10 wrist devices with 2 nets. So now we're tracking everybody in practice. And if mom's in the stands, moms could see the data to see how little Jimmy's doing. So there's a lot of things that we can do to go deep, but we're entrepreneurs, man. So we're definitely thinking about how can we go horizontal and really, make this extrapolated to other sports. Thanks for your question.
There's a question over here left.
Yes, sir.
Have you guys already connected with the guys from U-Hoops? And is there integration opportunity there for you guys to function together?
Yeah, great question. So the U-Hoops guys, I know those guys. DeMarcus, I had a previous sports tech business, which I exited. And when DeMarcus was starting, he reached out to me. So he's become a friend. We talked through business stuff. There's some opportunity because they do have about 18,000 players on their site trying to get to Europe and to other leagues to play. So I think there's an opportunity there. We've done some stuff together, and big fan of U-Hoops.
Davion, question all the way here in the back.
So do you think beyond just shooting baskets and like preparation, do you think this could go into wearable devices, like into gaming? So think of like Xbox controller on steroids.
Yeah. No, so that's exactly where we think that this is the market's going to take us. That's why we've added some of these gamification principles, because we think it's a huge opportunity. It's like Xbox, but outside doing activity. So we think that there's a very unique opportunity here with the gamification, with the leaderboards, with reputations, with the ability to challenge your friends. We see a huge opportunity for the gamification components. Thanks for the question.
Next question to your right.
Where do you get your statistical data, for instance, the 10 million players, 7 to 17, and the Chinese data?
Oh, a lot of market research. If you want, I can talk to you about, we've done quite a bit of market research to find that data. I can also tell you that, these individuals that are playing youth sports are spending anywhere between $6,000 and $12,000 a year just for youth sports. So we've done quite a bit of market research to understand the markets. I can tell you that there's 50,000 NBA and college players outside of that 10 million market. If you want, I'm happy to share, but there's, just market research data from, some of the different sources.
Question for you right here.
Thank you. All your software is based on the end result of the shot, but have you thought of trying to interface that with video and looking at the technique at all?
Yes, so there's a couple things that's related to technique that I'll address. First and foremost, right now we're about the result, and that's a good place to start. One of the things that we're doing is we're actually starting to make the accelerometer data that we're actually pulling off of the devices, available to our application. So what that means is that our hope, and this is not version 1 by any means, our hope is that in the future, with enough testing, we could understand what's this motion do? What's this motion do if you have the chicken wing out? So now you start dealing with the process versus just the result. So that's the first thing. Your question was about?
My question was about trying to interface with technique. I mean, I've got a video analysis software company dealing with sports.
Yeah.
So, I'd be very interested in having a chat with you.
Yeah, definitely. Let's have a chat, and we can talk about all the other things that we're doing. So I kind of forgot the second thing that I was going to say. I'm kind of like, my brain's like my jump shot right now. I apologize. But yeah, so we are working on technique. So, and the process to get to that end result.
Next question up front.
Sure.
So mine's a follow-up on that accelerometer data. So since you have that data, if you had multiple devices and unique IDs, when people are like scrimmaging and practicing, you could actually detect fouls, because if somebody's going to shoot and it's going that direction, and they get, somebody hits their arm and it goes the other direction, could you use it to, pick up whether there's actually physical contact?
That's an interesting question. I'm not sure about that. Because, one of the things that we have to do with ShotTracker is that we do a lot of testing. I don't know if I mentioned that I love my job. I get to shoot jumpers all day and look at the data. My jump shot has gotten better since we started. But, that's something that we'd have to look at. I don't know who wants to be the victim for me to foul them every single time so I could look at the data. If you're up for it, we should talk.
A question over here on your left.
You've mentioned the youth a lot. When can we expect a youth size in the sleeve?
When you define youth?
We've spoke, but my toddler, I would love to get this on
I
her.
know, exactly.
So
that's why I've spoken to her, so that's why I said define youth. I wish I could get it on your toddler, because I would invest and stay on the path until she goes to the league.
But really, for like smaller sizes.
Yeah, so we are targeting 7-year-olds, and I think that there's a couple things. One, with the sleeve and with the wrist. The wristband is going to have quite a bit of flexibility to go as small, pretty small. But it really just depends on the physical side. I think based on like the individuals that we've tested it on, we've been able to get fairly small with the wrist device. So I think for the most part we should be able to handle most youth, not toddlers. But
Davion, question for you over here.
Devian, you spoke about the distribution to high school, maybe colleges. Have you thought about maybe community cities where there might be community centers where these kids are going into in the summertime and maybe using that?
Yeah, so our mantra at ShotTracker is a ShotTracker in every net, right? And as part of that, we want to be to the point where not only you could have your ShotTracker at home and connect it via the devices, via your mobile device, but if you go to that community center, you just shoot to wake and you connect it to your phone, and you're working, and we can actually track those shots there. So, as part of our strategy, we definitely want to get a ShotTracker in every net, which includes community centers, schools. The opportunities are infinite. The other thing is that now that we have the base technology, just like most software, we're still working through stuff, but we have a pretty good grasp on where we're going, and the trajectory is awesome right now. We think that there are some other things that we can actually deploy from a product perspective, utilizing that for schools. Like for instance, when we launched last week, someone tweeted us and said, wow, we'd love this to get rid of the scoreboard and the scoreboard individuals. So, those are some of the things that we're hearing that could be used in schools, could be used in community centers, and much more.
Next question to your left in the back.
So with more and more...
Okay, wait, hold on. All right, sorry, I got you.
Sorry, right over here. I'm short, I know. So with more and more tweens and teenagers having smartphones these days and this information is viewable on a smartphone, I'm curious about being able to share that data and possible gamification, being able to somewhat start competitions with kids on their phones, through their phones, to share that data to encourage more of them to be more active.
Yeah, so we talked about that a little bit before. 100% agree. Gamification is a great vehicle for us. If you think, I don't know if you guys have followed like Draw Something. They got to 33 million users in, I think approximately, don't quote me, but a 6-week time frame. Well, it was gamification. Davion challenging John, and John seeing that challenge, and the competitive nature, being able to utilize that to get on board and download the app and participate. So we love the gamification process. We love the gamification principles because we think that's going to share. One of the things that we've taken into consideration is that if Davion challenges John, John may not have a ShotTracker. So we're going to allow John to put in his stats manually. But we all know that's like an unverified Twitter account. There isn't a, you can't say that you're, you can't say that you're Michael Jordan on Twitter and, without it being verified. So the critical thing is that with ShotTracker, we have that third-party verification. No more cheating. So.
Question right back here.
Hey, Davion, we've got a group of high school kids from Leavenworth. So can you kind of walk them from idea to the engineering that had to be done to how you get this thing manufactured?
Sure. Ooh. All right, I'm going to try to give you the short story version because there's and I'll keep most of it pretty, but there's a lot of challenges. So my co-founder, Bruce Yanni, loves basketball. He actually played football in college. He was rebounding for his son. And, of course, being a software guy, he's just like me, thinking data, thinking stats, and thought about, wow, he had on his fuel band, and he was like, man, it'd be awesome if I can track this. So he reached out to me knowing my computer science tech background, and also I played college basketball. And we got together, and it took we went down multiple paths. The first path that we looked at is, okay, do we have to build our own device, or can we just build an app that sits on top of a Nike Fuel? Well, Nike Fuel didn't really give us the data that we needed. So we looked at a couple different paths. We actually bought a Meta watch, a Pebble watch, but then I put it on and I shot with it, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is not good for my shot. I need to practice how I play. So we went down multiple paths before we're like, okay, we need to build our own device. Now, we'll make sure that we build the architecture so that in the future, individuals, if they want to tap into what we're doing, we can actually easily have them hit our APIs and now make this ubiquitous. So we made sure we did that from an architecture perspective, but we know we had to build our own device. So we started making some phone calls. Another pipeline fellow who's a robotics guy, Robot Zone, thanks Brian, made some introductions, and we found the guy who built the chip for the Roomba, for iRobot. Anybody familiar with the Roomba? So we got on the phone with him, told him what we're trying to do, and then we started hacking. And that's where that chip came about. So that chip was built, and we're very fortunate that we met him because he built the chip. Then we found our firmware developer, sorry. And we started to work through the development process. Then when we got the first prototype, probably back earlier this summer, we started to test. So that was a lot of fun. Literally, we tried to make the same jump shot every time. We tried to pass. We tried a hard dribble. We wanted to see what is all the data, because not only did we have to identify what a shot made was, and a shot attempted and a shot made was, but we needed to eliminate all the false positives. And that's still an ongoing process. You're still learning, because somebody's got that different kind of, that Bill Cartwright jump shot that you have to take into consideration for. So it's a huge testing. Chip. So after we got through that, we started developing the software. Well, we already had most of the application designed and developed with the screens here that you can see. So we started to have our engineers work on the back end, meaning building out the APIs, building out the front end, et cetera. So that was a process. That's still a process that's still going to continue going, because the product roadmap we have, not only for the chip and what this could become, is pretty extensive. So we're going to continue developing. Now, I'm going to jump to the manufacturing process just in the essence of time. The manufacturing process was and still is somewhat painful, but we've been fortunate to meet some interesting folks who have actually done it successfully. Do you manufacture local? Do you manufacture in China? Do you manufacture in Mexico? Are they going to steal your IP in China? All these are things that we're dealing with on a daily basis. So going through that manufacturing process, it's been painful. And for me, software, I can do software all day in my sleep. Hardware is a different ballgame. So we had to surround ourselves with individuals who understood the hardware landscape. And between the hardware landscape, the firmware design, and true software development from an application perspective, we were able to pull things together in a very aggressive, short time frame to be able to deliver on this product. I know that was long. I'm kind of winded. But hopefully that helps for the students to understand, concept. I mean, there was a lot of market validation, trial and error. I didn't talk a lot about the market validation, but we did bring in, tons of athletes at different ages to see if they would use this thing, if they would like it before we started venturing in. Big piece that I left out. My apologies.
Another question in the middle.
You touched on it with the false positive. I was trying to understand how accurate the wrist tracker is from a dunk to a layup to a half-court shot to a pass to a jump shot, just trying to understand that.
Yeah, so that would actually be the net sensor, because, it's both. A layup, we can get to a layup. There's still a few things that we're working through, but we can definitely get to a layup. Half-court shot is easy. But the other thing you have to take into consideration is that, how often are we, in my practice, maybe once a week, we'll practice the down by 3, and you got 2 seconds to go half-court shot, right? So if you think about it, in theory, that's not necessarily it's probably the exception versus the rule. So what we try to do is really focus on shots, game shots that people will take, right? When you're practicing, you're hitting elbow to elbow, you're hitting around the world, you're working on your baseline moves, et cetera. So those are the things that we try to focus on. Where we try to get rid of the false positives is things like the hard dribble. One of the big ones for us was the pump fake, because you do like this in one dribble. So those are the things that we continue to work on, and we're very excited about how many we've been able to solve. But as you know, as I said before, there's going to be that jumper that you have to accommodate for. One of the things that we're doing for in the future to accommodate those unique types of jumpers are almost a training mode where we can say, hey, take 10 shots so we can see what your accelerometer data looks like, and we can start pattern recognizing your jumper specific to you.
Question for you right here.
Yes, ma'am.
So where I live, we have some technology. The name is similar to ShotTracker, but what it tracks is gunshots.
Gunshots?
Yeah. So I'm wondering, I can see the revenue potential is huge in what you're doing, and I guess my question...
Can you say that again? I need to record that when we really started raising money.
I don't think I'm unique in this room. I think everybody sees you on a really positive trajectory here.
Thank you.
So in the urban core, basketball is a big hobby. We really lack some resources, and I'm wondering if you, down the line, once you have gotten out of startup mode, if you have any interest in working with nonprofits who work with youth on basketball programs, especially like the Police Athletic League and such.
So back in the day, that's what we call an alley-oop, because you just throw me a beautiful pass from half court. Some of you may or may not know my story, but I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago. I used to play for the Trinidad national team, and then I got a full basketball scholarship, and I was actually a pretty good shooter. I led the nation in field goal percentage my senior year. And basketball has changed my life. So one of the things that my partner and I talked about before is the opportunity to impact individuals. I mean, I got a full basketball scholarship with a computer science, math, and business degree from Benedictine College. So the opportunity to impact individuals and youth is very, very important to us. So one of the things that's not really publicized, but yes, we'd love to work with you, and a shot tracker in every net. You could read between the lines there. And then also the opportunity to partner with, we're talking to some of the larger organizations, pro and college organizations, to be able to go with them in their championship series or their all-star series, where we do some cool stuff like we rebuild a court in the inner city, et cetera. That's one of the things, the foundations that our company is built upon. And we're pretty upfront with investors from the beginning. There's going to be a sliver that's being used for this. That's really important to us. And people who get involved with us have to be on board with that. Otherwise, they won't be on board. So, yes.
Davian, thank you so much for answering all the questions. We are out of time, which leads us to our last question. What can we as a community do to help out ShotTracker?
Another alley-oop. I love this crowd. Support us. Support us. Go to ShotTracker.com. We've got a crowdfunding campaign. We're trying to raise $25,000. It's not a lot of money. To be honest with you, our molds cost a lot more than $25,000. But it was to really just get the community involved, get pre-orders, get our market validation. So the support I'll ask for, my call to action today is go to ShotTracker.com. If you're a coach, buy a team package. We're making some very favorable packages. If you're an individual, we've discounted it 37%, I believe, just for the early adopters. So buy a ShotTracker, share it with your friends, make grandma have a ShotTracker. She needs to be shooting some jumpers too. My grandma is shooting some jumpers right now. So that's what you can do to support. And I appreciate the opportunity. I'm sorry Bruce, couldn't be here. Very dynamic guy. You guys would have loved him. But I'm grateful for the opportunity, and thank you for Kansas City for all the support.
Thank you.
All right, guys, thank you so much for coming today. As you can see, we've got a great crowd. I have no data to support this, but I'm going to throw it out there. I think it's a record crowd again this week. So thanks for making it a priority. A lot of people call this entrepreneurial church. We're going to do the church thing. If you have an open seat next to you, scoot towards the middle, please. And there's some open seats right here at the front for you guys in the back. Don't be shy. You also might notice that we've got a lot of great alumni in the room, some people we haven't seen in a while, so we want to thank you for coming back, sharing your expertise with these presenters. And one very important alumni, Toby Rush of iVerify. You all may know, won the Get in the Ring competition this week. Go Toby. So He will be representing not only entrepreneurs in Kansas City, but entrepreneurs all around the country in Denmark, in the Olympics for entrepreneurs. So, quick announcement from Corey Moan of Network Kansas. Telling you about a great way to help people in the KCSV.
Thank you. Well, I just want to shoot baskets now after saying that. But great lead in terms of Toby. Toby being involved in the Kansas City Startup Village. And Johnny Cott is going to talk to you here in just a quick second. But just wanted to let you know there's a tremendous opportunity for you to support entrepreneurs here in the Kansas City area. I work for Network Kansas. We're the Center for Entrepreneurship for the state. And we have state tax credits that we sell every year to donors that offsets their state taxes and gives them a deduction on their federal taxes. We are in a pilot program this year with the Kansas City Startup Village where we are actually providing a portion of those credits to the Startup Village. If you are willing to donate to the Startup Village through this program, not only will all that money go to supporting the entrepreneurs of the Startup Village, but you're going to get at least 85% of your money back on your taxes if you pay taxes in the state of Kansas. So individuals, C corporations in the state of Kansas, this is the guy you need to talk to. I'll be here as well, but this is a tremendous opportunity for you. And the Startup Village is a place where Kansas, Missouri come together at the state line. This is a regional thing. So would love to get you behind it. Let me have Johnny talk to you.
So everyone that knows me knows that I can talk forever, so I'm going to keep this real brief. This is a great opportunity, as Davion said, to support others. If you look around you left and right now, this really shows what Kansas City is all about. To have someone like Toby Rush, that is a KCSV company, be picked out of the entire country is amazing. We have an opportunity right here, right now, in the next few weeks to help push this program out, and it's been tremendously supported by Network Kansas and the state of Kansas. So please come talk to me, follow us on Twitter, look at our webpage. If you have any questions, please, we need your support, and this is where we need you to rally around entrepreneurship. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, guys. One more quick announcement from DJ about the Big Data Conference.
With Johnny. Well, okay, so everybody that knows me, I can almost talk as much as Johnny Cott can. So to add to the list of many events going on, it didn't make it in the Kaufman, is Big Data Festival going on right now. 33 cities throughout the world, and we're one of those cities. It's going on right now at the convention hall, the Grand Ballroom. And so you can go down and get tickets. It's a 2-day event. And then we have a closing ceremony tomorrow, starting at 5:30 at the Bower. Hopefully y'all can join us if you're into big data.
Thanks, DJ. One more quick announcement, housekeeping-wise. We are in the middle of Global Entrepreneurship Week. If you haven't heard that already, man, I can't help you. So one really exciting event that's happening tonight is EKC. If you want to get a lay of the land on KC's entrepreneurial community and the history and the way that it came about, this is a great place to do it. Tonight at 5:30 at Union Station, please register online. You can get all that information and more on KC SourceLink's website. This is also the first day that we have 23 cities around the country participating in 1 Million Cups. Awesome. Very cool. So Dallas and Fort Worth are launching today with Cameron Cushman. You may know him. You may have heard of him. And I want to finally acknowledge a couple of great groups that we have here today. First, right here in the middle, next to all these empty seats that are still open in the front, we have a great group of mayors from all over the country, people that are making sure that the success that we have here in Kansas City is the same success they're having in Washington and in Delaware and in all the other great states across the country. So please say thanks for being here. Thanks for making entrepreneurship a priority in your community. Cool. We've also got a group here from St. Joe in town, learning more about 1 Million Cups KC. And we've got a huge group of students here from Leavenworth High School, as you heard, and from the Blue Valley CAPS program. Cool. Take a moment, say hi at the end. Those kids are smart, man. And so finally, it's my pleasure to introduce our second presenter. He's a really special person to us. He's one of our co-organizers in 1 Million Cups Orlando. So he was just in town for the summit, and he's here to talk about his company, World Housing Solutions. So Ron.
Good morning. I want to tell you this is awe-inspiring because we've launched in Orlando 1 Million Cups about 8 weeks ago or so, and we aspire to be in a room as big as this, filled with as many people as are here. So I have to tell you, hats off to you guys because you're rocking entrepreneurship. So wonderful. My name is Ron Benzeev, and we manufacture rapidly deployable and reusable structures made out of composites. And the question is why? And there's very important things that you need to realize, is that energy efficiency is really crucial to our long-term survival. This little number comes from what we spent last year in Afghanistan and Iraq to air condition and build the infrastructure to support our military camps in those two countries. So here's the reason why. 5-ton air conditioners hooked up to a tent. What you don't see behind that picture is that in order to power those ACs, you need generators. So here's our safe supply chain management. Tanker trucks driven, by the way, that's one of the most dangerous jobs in the military today. And 48,000 of our soldiers are dedicated right now to our supply chain management. Not a great thing to be doing, right? Here's another question that I'm asked often, but Ron, we have tents. Why aren't tents a good solution? Well, before you deploy a tent, you need to flatten the ground. So you need infrastructure because before you do that, you need to then go ahead and pour a concrete slab. And then you can go ahead and put in an expensive tent that you then hook up to a generator and an AC system. Other solutions could be containers, but again, you can't deploy containers in a rapid manner because you need heavy equipment, you need to build the infrastructure, you need to build the entire support system around it. So it's not green, it's not fast, it's not safe. Obviously, one of the things that drove us to develop a solution was also disaster relief. So here are people enjoying disaster relief. This is actually from Haiti. I've been there several times. This number is actually an interesting number. That is the number of displaced individuals on a yearly basis for the last 5 years worldwide by either man-made or natural disasters. That's California and Nevada together, homeless, every year for the last 5 years. And we're shipping them tents. Right? Natural question to ask. Or how about this? It's made with our system. It's made with our composites. And here's a tiny little sample, and you guys are welcome to come in and look and touch this afterwards. We've launched this a little bit over 2 years ago with a particular aspiration in mind. We wanted to go into the relief work. We did not succeed in that particular place yet. The military came to us and said, hey, that's kind of an interesting thing you guys are doing. Could you help us out? And we said, yeah. So this is part of what we do that's completely different than everybody else. We're elevating our structures above the ground. We're the only company in the world right now, to our knowledge, where the panels that we make are actually capable of sustaining and supporting the structure, even though they're very light. We're pre-approved by USAID in Haiti, you can read post-revenue, and we've been deployed in the US, Caribbean, Africa, and the South Pacific. This is really what makes our system completely unique. We have the ability to elevate our structure above ground and deploy it very rapidly. As you can see, the grass here is lower than the parking lot, and yet that structure is completely level. We can build a 700 square foot unit with 10 men, no power tools, no heavy equipment, in less than 6 hours. And yet that unit is hurricane resistant and earthquake resistant. Some of our competitive advantages, and I'm not going to go too deep into this, but we understand the market, we know where we are. We are a manufacturing-based process, which right now is labor intensive. So our costs are a little high. But nonetheless, when we start manufacturing this in much greater detail, much greater quantities, everything drops down. And once you factor into that the savings and the cost of deployment and the long-term benefits of a structure that is virtually indestructible, you do the math. It's pretty cool. There's one other thing that we do that no one else in the world can do is we can actually move our factory. So we can manufacture a few of our core materials here in the US, then bring it in the market where it's sorely needed, Philippines, for example, right now, and help them help themselves to build structures and help them build a new life for themselves. The current total market potential is, and that's the first tiny little slice, is over $1 billion, and that's what we're going after. Here's something that's a little bit of a paradigm shift. The two panels that you see on top weigh 14 pounds each. They're about 2 feet by 4 feet and about 5 inches in thickness. They're supporting right now 1,000 pounds per wheel with no deflection. So they're very strong, they're very light. It's made out of phenolic resin. That's really the composite piece that we're doing. And the sandwich construction, when it's put together, actually gives us the ability to be a lot stronger than each piece separately. This particular unit, by the way, is a women's maternity and health clinic that was shipped to Africa, part of a 5-building compound that we built for them. And it's literally being deployed as we speak in East Africa to change lives there. In that particular case, the unit will actually be bolted directly on the slab. They didn't want an elevated structure. But guess what? Even then, it is still earthquake and hurricane resistant. It can still be moved if they wanted to. Our first prototype has already gone through 1 hurricane and 5 major tropical storms in Mississippi on a military base, and that was a prototype. We've improved dramatically since then. So we're very comfortable with the way the unit performs. There is nothing in here that can be eaten by termites. It will not mold, will not mildew, and will not rot. It won't burn either. The foam behind it might melt, but it depends on what we use behind it, and that's really what triggers depending on the applications. When you're looking at building a house, and some people have said to me, well, how much is it per square foot? Well, depending on everything that we do today and how much we add into it, we can be up to $150 a square foot, and people go, that's my house. So, well, when you look at the house and the cost that it takes to actually build one structure, first of all, it's a manufacturing process. So if you go tomorrow to design or build a car or one of anything, it will be more expensive. So we know those costs will be reduced. But what you don't see is the pyramid effect behind that, the impact on the environment, what it takes to deploy, the cost of the money while you're waiting. So all those factors really come into play. Our structures are literally man-powered for installation. You can put in some equipment, but it takes very, very little effort to put them together and bolt them and still make them earthquake and hurricane resistant. This panel is 8 feet by 20 feet, carried by 2 of my partners, neither of which is a linebacker in the NFL. And so it gives you an idea as to how easy it is to handle. The more people we put behind it, the faster it gets deployed. These are solutions that we've developed for the US military right now as we're expanding this. It's a hexagonal-based design, and that's actually how we launched the original module that we built. And we're the only company in the world that can actually say this. We can make our structures bulletproof and still make them movable. Today, the military builds a bulletproof structure, and when they leave, they either donate them to the hopefully friend or blow them up. We can pack them up and bring them back. Summary, this is a proven technology. These 2 units are identical. This particular unit was built, taken apart, rebuilt, and taken apart 4 times before it finished on a military camp in Mississippi and being used as an office by the SICPs, a construction battalion for the Navy.
So, Ron, we're at 8 minutes, and we've got a lot of people with some questions. So we're going to kick you off with the first question right over here by the basketball goal.
Ron, really like the platform. It looks like it's robust, low impact, reconfigurable, flexible, and all this other kind of stuff. But how are you going to get it out there so it makes a significant impact on the problem that you described? So how do you know when you're successful, and what's your path to get there?
But if I play basketball, I'd use a basketball analogy. So there are 2 things particularly that we need to do. It's obviously scaling. The more we make them, the more we make, the cheaper they become, the more we can sell. So it's one of those those paradigms that we need to overcome. And so the second thing is that we need to let people understand that there are better solutions out there. So when people are looking at containers, for example, it's a known entity. It's a re-education. And when you're holding this or you're coming to my factory and looking and lifting a panel, it truly becomes a moment where you just don't realize the differences. So it's education and scaling.
Question for you over here. Ron, this way.
So disaster relief is a great solution. I'm curious about one-offs and scalabilities, being able to use the same structure, same deployment for other solutions, perhaps in housing solutions here in the US or elsewhere, to offset the costs when there's not a disaster going on and we're not gunning for contracts to fill those disaster relief.
Once we manufacture in a large volume, then we have specific models. So someone can come and order a particular unit, and those will be just a standard system we can deploy virtually anywhere in the US, either elevated or slab on grade, depending on the requirements. Once you realize that the efficiency of the particular unit, 1 inch of our product is the same R value as an 8-inch concrete block, you start realizing that the savings are there all the way around, both from the usability and the fact that it will last for a very long time, and then savings of energy along the way.
We have another question to your right again.
I have a question. You mentioned fire retardancy or fire resistancy. Which product in the composite provides that? I was a little unclear. And after that, have you thought about increasing that particular component in the composite to create fire shelters that are mobile?
So the piece that is the most well known is the phenolic resin that is part of our composite. So phenolic is used all the way and has been used for decades as a fireproofing, fire retardancy unit. So literally this will scald, this will fizzle, but it will not burn. The key is what we put on the inside. So we can put completely fire-resistant foam and then at that point make fire-resistant structures. So we're right now in negotiations with the state of Florida, where I'm from, to be able to sell them units to put in as part of the forestry department deployment. So they have a structure that will both not mold, mildew, or rot, but at the same time could provide safety for firefighters and others in case of emergencies.
Question back here in the middle.
You want to go to Burning Man? I think you should take this there. 60,000 people trying to build a house on the playa and then remove it and leave no trace. And have you made your TED Talk yet? And have you called Jon Stewart from The Daily Show? Because this rocks. This is a solution that helps the world.
Thank you.
You're great.
So Burning Man is an interesting question. Someone else has suggested that, and I did check it out online, and I don't know if we're ready for that yet. Jon Stewart, if you have a connection, I'm all ears, and I would love to do a TED Talk, and I am in conversation with the Florida representative about that. But again, it's very competitive, as you can imagine.
Another question here in the middle.
Hi, if I missed this, I apologize, but with regards to your housing solutions, what kind of energy do you think what's best fit to run on? I mean, for example, the military, they're gonna need, laptops and Wi-Fi access and everything else on the inside. Is it more for like electric piece or natural gas or combination of both? I was just kind of curious, just kind of missed that in the presentation.
So when you're looking at what they need to currently air condition or heat the structures that they're using gigantic generation systems. So if you can remove or virtually eliminate those pieces by providing a very efficient structure, then the rest of the needs become a lot easier to accomplish. And what that means is in the end, you need a lot less trucks carrying fuel to those locations to provide that. So in our particular case is the thermal energy, which then reduces the needs for generation of power.
Question here in the front row.
Can you speak a little bit to the MEPs? How do you organize that? Is it outside the wall, inside the walls? Can you just talk a little bit about that, especially on the permanent structures?
Right. We just geeked out for construction. MEP is mechanical, electrical, plumbing. So the way we do this is we embed it directly into the wall during the manufacturing process. So windows, doors, electrical, and plumbing are all built in at the factory and shipped ready to plug in for the customer. It all snaps or bolts together or ties in at specific junction points.
Great. We have another question to your left here.
How do you see this fitting into the general consumer market, residential or commercial, and how high do you think you can build the structures? Can you compete with Dubai?
Yes. Every entrepreneur will say yes and figure it out. Let me tell you why. We'll start with Dubai and work our way back. A very tall structure is based on a skeleton, and the skeleton is then clad with a skin. So the lighter the skin is, the lighter the skeleton becomes, and the more structurally sound that skeleton is. And one of my partners is currently watching, and he's a doctorate in instructional engineering. He's probably cringing at what I'm saying, but that's really the way it would work. So if you think about the armature or the skin, which is either made out of steel or made out of concrete, then clad, if you were to use our structure, it would be more efficient, would be lighter, and the lighter it is, the more resistant it is to seismic events such as earthquakes. So that's the first thing. The second thing is dealing with absorption in the United States. There are certain hoops that we need to jump through still, which is some second and third party verifications and certifications. And once that is done, then it's again our job to go ahead and educate the public that this is a great option.
Question for you all the way here in the back.
You have a great member in the audience in Mayor Sly James here. With the new land bank policy opportunities that are available to metropolitan areas and the urban issue of housing, this is a great opportunity for you to take this to the mayor's office. And Mayor, I'm right here. For you to take this to the mayor's office for housing opportunities to redevelop the urban core. I mean, you take it to Johnson County, they have more homeless people than anywhere else in the metropolitan area also.
Is your schedule open? Thank you.
Another question here in the
middle. As we've seen, like historically with like fuel, whenever some new technology is introduced, there's always a resistance to switch to change over, so to speak. How do you compel the markets that currently deal with disaster relief and even the military to embrace this as they maybe ought to?
Again, it's through finding people that know and can introduce and allow us to tell the story. It truly becomes a change when someone sees what we have and what we've built. We built a small structure and we deployed it at a trade expo for the military. And I could not have scripted it better. We had one of our competitors making a container structure for the military that was stuck on the parking lot for 9 hours in the United States while they were waiting to deploy it with a special forklift. I was having a beer by the time they were setting it up because it took us less than an hour to build our little structure. And that's when people are going, what the heck is this and how are you doing this and tell me more. And that's really is. So for me, this, for example, is a perfect opportunity to come out, tell you my story, and hopefully there's a ripple behind it and you guys can take it and help me amplify it.
Next question in the back to your left again.
How does the product that you're using, the composite product, compare to a plastic or a PVC? And have you done any tests on health-related issues about breathing in the environment of the materials that you're using?
So first of all, it does not compare to plastic or PVC because it will not melt. And that's the first thing. The second thing is because of the way it's built and designed, we can apply virtually any coating to it. So in this particular case, you'll see a synthetic stucco, which you cannot apply to PVC or to other materials. So we can clad it and design it and build it in any way we want. From the health standpoint, there are no off-gassing. Part of this. Obviously, when we manufacture, we have to be somewhat careful because when you're cutting fiberglass, if any of you have ever worked on a boat or on a Corvette or whatever, you'll know that it's not fun to deal with it. So that's just regular type of approach. But otherwise, for everything else, it's extremely green and it uses a byproduct of our current oil production. So it's not as if we're creating and using, we're actually using something that they need to get rid of, and that's what we're using to do this.
Ron, question for you right here.
Hey there, you may have mentioned this already, but how many units to date have you deployed? And click down on the previous question. What's your path to scale?
So we've now deployed about 10 units in different markets and different environments. We're currently working on an opportunity with the U.S. military for Africa on a expeditionary force type of camp. And the path is really, again, breaking the barriers of education and telling people, look, this is a really cool idea. It really has legs, and you should look more into it and change the way you're thinking. Because if you think about it, we're basically cavemen. We're taking the cave with us, and if it's not made out of stone, it doesn't feel right. So recently I shared this with someone, and he was holding this, and he was trying to squeeze it, he was trying to do something. He goes, Ron, my brain says that makes no sense, but my hand says it's really hard, I can't do anything with it. And it's, again, that's that education and getting them to think literally, even though I'm building a box, I need to think outside the box.
Question here in the middle.
It sounds like FEMA ought to be making a lot of orders for this. Have you been to the administration and seen whether they're receptive to having these available when we do have a disaster in the future?
So sometimes I fancy myself an actor, so we'll reenact my attempts at talking to FEMA. Hey, FEMA, I've got a really good idea. Can I talk to you about it? If you know anyone, please make the connection. Thank you.
So another question in the back here.
Seeing as how we live in Tornado Alley and how often these natural disasters occur, how quickly can units like this be put into use, seeing as how, like in Iowa just recently, they had a tornado come through and just totally wrecked their town, and now days later they're looking at the possibility of snow?
So just to give you an idea, if I was to build a structure that was 1,000 square feet, right? 10 of us could build it in a day. Literally. The more people will put at it, the faster it goes. And the biggest thing is post-disaster, you don't have to start looking for flat land to deploy what you have and what people are sending. I can do it irrespective of the terrain thanks to our patented leveling system. And that's really part of the secret sauce that separates us from everyone else.
Hey, Ron, I got a question for you over here. So not only is Ron an amazing community leader for Orlando, but also an amazing entrepreneur. And we chose our presenters today because they had a global impact. And I would love for you to tell a little bit of your entrepreneurial story, moving all around the world, and some of the lessons that you've learned, especially for some of the high school students in the room and aspiring entrepreneurs. What have you learned along the way that you want to pass on? He's given me a lot of advice, by the way. So,
well, I'm going to tell you something that you may or may not have picked up. English is not my first language, it's my third language. So I was born in Israel, grew up in Africa, Asia, and Europe, and came to the States in the early 80s. So some of the disaster relief and some of the other things are things that I've culturally lived and been around all my life. That's one small part of who I am. I have been an entrepreneur all my life, including when I worked for a very large company where I literally had to create my own path and my own job within the company because I had no job description. Past that, if there's one thing I can tell you, is that around you today are the leaders and the pioneers that will help you reach your next milestone. This is not a lonely journey, which sometimes in the past we thought it was. I'm an entrepreneur, it's my secret, I'm not sharing, I'm not talking to anyone. And that's really the biggest mistake you can make. You have to reach out. There are people around you all the time, and I'm amazed as to the number of people that are willing to reach out, give you a hand, and give you a lot of their time, which is the most precious commodity that they have, to share with you their experience, their failures, and their successes. And by the way, if someone only talks about their successes, they're lying. Because you don't get to anything in this world without failing along the way, which is extremely rare. And those that can teach you from their failures are those that will help you really set the path forward. And we failed a lot here. And what I'd love to tell people is that at first we thought We thought we had the best answer possible. We just got the question wrong at the beginning. Right? So pivoting is crucial to everything you do when you're launching a business, and how you're defining the path that you're choosing. And that's really an iterative process that we've talked about here for the last 2 days. And I just love this town. I just got to tell you, because every event that I've gone to, I've met people that were just passionate about this. And if I could move the Kauffman Foundation to Orlando, I would. But it seemed it might be easier for me to try to move here. But my wife may object. Well, depends on the contract we can negotiate, Your Honor. I think I've lost already. No wonder he's been elected. But that's really part of this. So it's being able to leverage and understand that whatever you do today as an entrepreneur, you're globally impactful. Whatever you do, because of what the internet provides us, it's always an international impact. So never think about just your neighborhood or your town or your state or even your country. Think about the impact that you have worldwide. And the best example I can give you is that iVerify is going to Europe to represent us and talk about an amazing concept that does have a global reach and will make a lot of difference in a lot of different businesses. So just always think about that. It's not just this, it's all of this.
We are over time, which we're over time, which we probably knew that we would. A huge room here today, and we have so many great guests. And we know that you are from Orlando, but you've been spending a lot of time with us here, and we think of 1 Million Cups now as a big community. So what can we as a community do to help you?
First of all, the questions you guys have asked me are wonderful, because it tells me that you're interested, and I've been able to at least intrigue you a little bit. If you know anyone, if you can think of anything, someone came to me and said, hey, I live in Michigan, and these would be amazing ice fishing huts. I would have never thought about that. I live in Florida. So, I don't go ice fishing very often. So again, people go and come up with amazing concept and ideas. So keep on thinking. I've got business cards. You can find me on Twitter under both handles over there. Reach out to me. I'd love to continue a conversation. And if I can help you guys out, please let me know, because that's what it's all about.
Thank you very much. Great job. So we have one more announcement question. Who here was getting in the ring at the Get in the Ring Monday night? Awesome. Well, we still have a few of the clickers left out that we need back. So round up the other people that you know that were there and get those back to us. We would greatly appreciate them back, and that allows us to continue to do these events into the future. So if you got one in your pocket, drop it back off at the table at Dave. And also give Dave a huge round of applause and all of the support staff that makes this happen every week. Thank you guys, and thank you for coming again. Have a great week.